Hello, and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sherry Ann.
So, Sherry Ann, let's start with Pesh. Why don't you go first?
Okay. Oh, good. Because I was going to go straight into the topic. So let's get grounded. Whew. So physically, 7.9. Emotionally, 8.3. Spirit, 9. Hope, 9.2. And my word is percolating. Your turn.
Physically, I am a 7.5. Emotionally, I'm an 8. Spiritually, I'm an 8. And hope is an 8.5. And my word is progress.
Okay. We both have provocative words.
I was going to say P words.
P word.
Provocative is another P word.
Exactly.
See, we always want to go into the word, but that's just not what you do with Pesh. It's not about that right now.
Not at all. It is a personal grounding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we were talking about dreaming, and so we're bringing that to this podcast today because so often on a cancer journey, dreaming is like one of the last things that you let yourself do, other than I want to get through this. That and then it stops there. It's like, ooh, okay, there was just a little opening and then a block.
Yeah.
And so I love talking about dreaming, and I love to dream. Awake dream and daydreaming. Daydreaming and sleep dreaming. And I just know that the value of everything that comes starts with that little dream.
Yeah.
That little spark.
And honestly, we get a lot of pushback from, our coaches, our community, especially when they're newer to us, about the word dreaming. And for anyone who's going through or is, has just been in a cancer journey, they can feel a little triggered by the word specifically. And completely understood, right? And it comes from a place of what good is it to dream, right? Like when I don't know what comes next, and when I'm in this state, and when it feels like the likelihood of the future being positive, that feels really low for me. And so people have that pushback about dreaming. I mean, I want to say this now because we're going to go into it, but dreaming allows you to play. It's this internal play with what is possible, and play with what you really want. And a lot of times when we just start to allow ourselves to dream, or even if you hear the word dream, what kicks us out of it and triggers us out of it tends to be our negative ego and assumptions that come with it, that we can't have that for some reason. No matter what you're doing, whenever you're dreaming and thinking of the future, Sherry Ann has futuristic as one of her top strengths, and so she really sees vision, which totally makes sense why dreaming really vibes with you. But we'll never know what comes next, so that's kind of my thing. Like, we'll never know, so why not dream? Understood that it could get your hopes up, whatever, but when we're really clean about what we're dreaming about, and it's just like for fun, for play, to put it out there, to see what that feels like and what the possibilities are, we actually open more doors for ourselves, even just energetically, to lean into that and move it forward into what's possible for us and what we really truly want.
Absolutely. When I said dreaming is a spark, it is that beginning part. And I've already said that I love dreaming. And if we don't play, if we don't dream, then we're just, I get it. we talk about present moment all the time, but if we don't allow ourselves to have that, then there's not a desire. There's not hope. I mean,
Mhm.
I think that's what hope stems from. And I know that the pushback that people have are like, well, that's just false hope. It's not false hope if you are, well, if you do it the way that we do it, where it is an acronym. So DREAM is an acronym for us in CJI, but also that it's purposeful. Like
Mhm.
there is a reason. And if something becomes too fanciful or fantasy, then we come back and we look at form and function, which we can talk about in just a moment. But it is purposeful and it's aliving. It
Mhm.
brings us alive. It allows us to hope and what was that's the quote from Disney? Um, a dream is the
The wish
wish
your
that your
heart.
heart makes.
Yes.
Yeah. A dream is a wish that your heart makes. And it's like, who doesn't want that? Oh, I got chills. That
Mhm.
just feels so luscious. Like,
Yeah. And I would say that while dreaming is kind of this like projection of what we want in the future, it feeds the present moment actually. Like we need it in this present moment because it lights you up. It gives you this fire, it gives you motivation, it gives you something to look forward to in this moment. And we say often, oh, you're getting all the tools thrown at you right now, but all the things, but we often say the steps to getting there are the qualities of being there. So if we know what we're dreaming of, like in the future, or even, whatever it looks like, whatever it feels like to us, we can start living that in the present moment, which makes this present moment so much more powerful because there's a purpose and a reason of why we're doing it. Because if we sat in this present moment without any dream or any hope for the future, we can easily become consumed by only what's here and not see what could be in the next step, right? Like, if you're just really, really random example, it's like if you want to be a concert pianist, you can't do nothing now. Like, you can start research. You don't have to start playing a piano right away and just instantly being good at it, but you have to plant that seed to get to that goal. And you have to see what that seed feels like and make sure that that resonates with you so that you know that that dream is truly what works for you, what you really want.
exactly. Oh, you're just talking about all our frameworks because what just came up for me is our Thriver framework, which is seed
Mhm.
and then rooting
Mhm.
and then blooming and then flourishing. So
Yeah.
when we dream, it is exactly like you said. It's like, is this the seed that I want to plant? Because it's got to go through a germination and the whole journey. But let me imagine. And now, so that's where, Walt Disney comes in for me. It's like Imaginarium. It's let me stoke this part of me that gets to, using the word again, stoke the hope to imagine what's possible so that I may be in a constricting emotion, but the possibility of me shifting out of this comes with that hope.
Mhm. Yeah. Hope for me is very much like shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. And I think that's the safest, right? The way to kind of hold it. But also the most realistic way to hold it. It's neither pessimistic or optimistic. It's really like I will learn and gain things no matter what just by being on that journey. Um, and I do want to pull us back for a second into why we're talking about dreaming and what
Yes.
place we're coming from. And it's like the end of the year is coming up, the holidays are hitting us now, and if this isn't a time for reflection and a reminder, right? It's getting colder. It's like that slowdown is naturally happening. And if we're really tuning in with the seasons and what's coming up for us, and what you and I have talked about here and there, it's just like reflecting on this past year.
Right. And how reflection actually helps um, ignite the possibilities of dreaming, because we go, I mean, day to day, we wake up, we do our thing, we have a plan, but we don't pause enough. Here comes the pause again, to look back and go, huh, what did I learn? What did I experience? What really happened? And it's one of my favorite things to do. And this might be because I'm futuristic, and yet I like to have a glimpse of the past. So I'm just talking about, like, starting in January and going through my calendar and just revisiting all the things that I've done. And this has been a pretty spectacular year for CJI. And looking back going, oh my goodness, that we won that award. Oh my goodness, we did our first coach retreat on Lefkada Island. I mean, that's forever ingrained. And when I do that, like, who knew that that was really possible? So it does, add fuel to the fire of what's possible going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we have talked about too is that we wanted to start dreaming about 2025. And obviously as a business, we're planning our calendar way in advance, but we we ride on that vision, that future, that dreaming. And so we're really reflecting on like what a great year this has been, and it almost makes it hard to
Hmm.
dream bigger for next year, or even just to get really clear on like what do we want. It's just like
Right,
a
right.
constant question, right? And
From an
what.
individual standpoint,
Mhm.
and as a company or in your work. And sometimes that intertwines. Obviously it intertwines for us, but it's like, oh, if how do you beat something that's spectacular? And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, you can go, oh, well, then next year's not going to be as great. Thank you, negative ego, for scooping in. And then there's also the possibility of, when that started, we had no idea how the year was going to unfold and what was going to happen. And so using that as possibility, reference, it's
Mhm.
like, truly anything's possible.
Yeah. And things that happened this year were things that we didn't necessarily plan the year before or anticipate, right? Like you can't always expect awards and recognition, or the number of awards and recognitions you get, and the way things go, we can plan, and we have that hope that we're going to hope for the moon, maybe planets past the moon. But if we land among the stars, we're still in good company, and we're still making that progress, and we're still um fulfilling what we wanted. But it's hard to even like plan for those things specifically, especially so far in advance. So for me personally, when it comes to this work, and we talk about form and function and like being really practical about like what are we as a company doing in the new year, um form and function comes in. Form being like exactly what it is, function being how it serves you, how it feels. Like if you say I want to experience adventure and um new experiences, that would be function. Form could be like travel. Um, so there, one doesn't have to come together before the other. It's not a chicken and egg experience. Everyone's a little different, and it's neither black or white either. Sometimes you lean one way, and sometimes you lean another way, depending on what the question is. So for me personally, function of what's coming up in the new year, um, is where I'm leaning, because I don't know what it looks like. I don't know exactly what we're going to be doing every step of the way, and I think having that possibility of having it open, and knowing that the form will follow the function, um works more for me right now in this moment.
And yes, and it is fun to just answer the question of, what do I want?
Mm-hmm.
To start us off. And if we can't seem to get there, because I'm struggling, I'll be perfectly honest, because of the great year that we've had. I'm using it to look back and go back to um, the possible forms. I speak form first, and then function comes after that. And so I need to daydream about the forms. And if I'm stuck, I can go back and reflect and look at, well, what did I say around there? I just remember at the end of last year, I said, okay, this is going to be the year I'm going to put myself out there. I had no idea. So that's a function. And I didn't know what the form was going to look like, but I knew that I was going to start doing podcasts. And so we have the Cancer Journey podcast. And I also started becoming guests on other podcasts. And it was like, oh, look at that. And it's being open and willing to say yes to what shows up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And obviously we're nerds for our work because we talk like this all the time, not just on the podcast. I promise. We actually just have full conversations exactly like this. Um and often when Sherry Ann and I are together, when it's the end of some sort of phase or year or stage that we're going through, we like to do dream goals together. It's something you really can't do alone, and a lot of our work kind of feels that way. It's like you can know all the information. We love talking to you and letting you know about, the quotes, the tools and things we have, but doing them by yourself is much harder, which is why we do them with a coach. A coach leads you through them, and it's the perfect place to slow down because we can't do it for ourselves. I mean, just as humans, especially in a lot of the culture that we're baked into, it's like progress, 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 keep moving forward. And it's like, okay, but now I don't have a second to think about me or what needs to happen big picture. You can be so into the nitty gritty of the details that you have to do every day, like I have to bake meals for people and like there's so much that goes into every day that slowing down by yourself is really hard.
Yeah.
Even if you stop to journal, it's super hard.
So I'm just going to jump into our framework. Just so people know that in reflection, which is what we're inviting you to do, but also in creating these dream goals, there is an acronym, which is DREAM, that we use to help guide us to creating these goals. And so it's D. D stands for desire. R, it stands for real, meaning I can see it in my mind's eye. I can see it really happening. It doesn't have to be realistic, as I use quotation marks, but it needs to feel like I can give this to myself. I can have this. E is that it excites you and expands you. A is it has that aliveness. And the dream actually is alive. It isn't flat. It isn't like, oh, I want to lose 5 pounds. It is like, I can see myself climbing this mountain or going on, a 5-mile hike. It could be a 1-mile hike or it could be around the block. But there's something that has dimension to it. M is that it motivates you, that it moves you forward. There's movement to it. And when you find something that lights you up with the DREAM, then, then we say it's a valid dream. And that dream comes from the heart, where in contrast, smart goals, that comes from your head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it makes you pause and really be like, do I really want this? Because it's not a bad thing when you go through the DREAM to be like, actually, no, it does not feel real. Like, I actually don't think it's, can you go back? You go, okay, so that doesn't feel like it's real or possible. You don't have to go back to the drawing board, but you can go back to the drawing board and see what feels real instead, or what could be a pivot of that potential dream, or dream goal that allows you to really be like, oh yeah, actually I could really do that. There is no harm or foul or right or wrong way to do it. We do have like 8 categories that we kind of section them all out into, but I think right now, instead of going into the different categories, we'll just do kind of vision for CJI, and you can come along with us.
Take us there, Alicia.
Okay. Well, Sherry Ann, I will pose a question to you of what do you want for 2025? It
Oh,
starts with
she
a big
comes right at me with that really powerful question. Um, so last year, I secretly, it's not going to be a secret now because I'm going to put it out there. I called it the Dynamic 2024. And that just kind of set the tone for me for CJI. I do a word every year, and I mean, if I think about it and I pause enough, I can see whatever it is that word was exemplifying in the year. But this last year blew me away. And so for 2025, I think I want. I'm just gonna let it come.
Mhm.
So what popped up, and I don't know if I want to own this, was like glorious. And
Mm.
then my mind started going, what does glorious mean? So that just popped out from here. And then of course my mind wanted to process it. So let me not pivot. Let's throw this back to you. And when you hear the word glorious, what comes up?
Glorious feels like I'm visualizing glowing, right? There's
Mm,
this like emanating, there's peace, like a lot of peace to it, and there's there's this like innate, not just strength, but this deep knowing that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, and we're doing what resonates with us. And maybe that's also my own perception, because I think that we've gotten stronger and stronger and like who we are and what we are, especially as we speak about our company to a lot of people on this last dynamic 2024. But gloriousness feels like I literally see a body that is emanating like this warm glowing light, but as it like goes further out, it's almost like this warm purple glow that even encircles that, and just like begins to touch everyone that's within our reach. That's what I get from that.
right. No, I was there with you. Thank you for describing that. That really helped. Because when I think of dynamic, it's like boom, bang, bow, pow.
Mhm.
But glorious doesn't. It's got kind of an elegance and it has a being to it
Mhm.
versus a doing.
And a trust, like a
Mm-hmm.
very deep trust. Dynamic is very action oriented
Mm-hmm.
and like outwardly energetic and acceleratory. um my technical word is acceleratory. And glorious feels like this, like it's not um like a hierarchy. It's not like sitting on a pedestal and being better than everyone. Like it doesn't feel like that at all. It just
Mm-mm.
feels like this very deep inner knowing, and this like holding out of your hand that like almost has like everything that we offer, and just offering those hands to people to hold, and deeply like embracing people in that way. um and feeling the effect that we have, like that ripple effect, and how we want to impact the world, really.
Mm-hmm.
Big.
No, because what I was thinking is it's almost like, okay, continuum from dynamic, the action, the pow, to okay, now here we are. So it's more like an offering.
Hmm.
It's like
Yeah.
here we are, we're standing confidently, and it's yeah.
Yeah.
So I like that. I mean, I could feel it. I could feel the glow, and I could feel it's peaceful. It's not verbose or vivacious.
Hmm.
I mean, it has energy, but it's like we're here.
Yeah, and even as you were initially answering the question, you like took your breath. I mean, I think, breathing, great, starting to slow down and just tune in, great, but I also like through the computer felt this need for rest and honoring that rest. Um and I think that's true of everywhere, everything, and every when you're tired, you take the rest, but there is that need for it, like
Yeah.
we want to be able to just enjoy instead of feeling like we're scrambling, which
Hmm.
dynamic has that trust of the scramble is going to be necessary. And in general, the scramble may very well be necessary here and there, but with gloriousness. Oh, yeah, it's trust. It's really trust for me that's coming up.
All
Yeah.
right. I think right now we're claiming 2025 is glorious.
Well, does we have to go through the DREAM?
Oh, right. Okay.
So it's something that you desire.
In the way that you described it, in the way that I got to feel it with you, and then it kind of brought out what was there for glorious. Yes.
Does it feel real?
Oh, yeah. Like we can totally do this and stand in that place.
I forget what E stands for already.
Expanding and exciting.
Expand? Mhm.
So what I like is you said s- um, rest, but then there's also spaciousness for whatever needs to or wants to come. eh, But it's not this empty black hole. It's more like this calm, okay. It's almost like we're ready.
Mhm.
So yes, I'm excited and it expands.
A. I forget what A means too.
Alive, aliveness. It
Alive.
has dimension, and it has a feel. It is alive, but it isn't frenetic, like
Mhm.
dynamic. It has a life of its own, an energy of its own. So I love that.
And then M, does it motivate you?
Yes. And it feels like it's a movement forward.
Mhm.
It's like we don't have to be like this, or like this, running. Yeah. um, we get to be like this.
Yeah. We could just be.
And ready. Being and being ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not being like, ready, being like,
Yes.
all right, everything's set up, it's ready to go. Which
Yep.
is, oof, like a deep breath, like a deep exhale.
Yep.
Yeah. Ah, we love jingles. And we do this throughout all the categories. But again, like you can see, it's really hard to do yourself. And you really need someone to like reflect with you. Because, I mean, in general, when we're speaking and we're sharing, it's like, out. And then I don't remember what I said. Whenever someone asks me what I said, it's like, I don't know. What did I say? Did I have
I was
someone
so
to
in the moment. Can you reflect back to me? Yep.
exactly. Yeah.
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 As we sigh together. So I have the invitation for our audience to think about what word comes up. It could be more than one word, but just allow yourself to play with that, whether it's in reflection of the year or where you feel like you want to be in 2025. And let's know. Put
Yeah.
it in our comments, share it with us, and we'll celebrate with you.
Yeah. Well, let's do a quick takeaway.
Okay. Takeaway is it actually okay. So this is Sherry Ann fun. It's actually fun for me to do this long pause and to reflect back. Um, there's a lot to be grateful for always, and so it gives me that time and space to really appreciate 20 the year that just passed.
Mhm.
And so again, another invitation to do that. And my word is peaceful.
Yeah.
Your turn.
My takeaway is that dreaming is just play. And dreaming is you don't like there's no right or wrong way to do it, really. It's only when we judge ourselves is when we feel like we're doing something wrong. Um, and I think also my takeaway is that we just like I want more time. I want more time to be able to play with this, right? Like this was such a short snippet of what you can do with dream goals, and ooh, it was like so short. I want more, right? Like I want more of being able to slow down and reflect and repeat ourselves 7 million times because it feels good to say those things and to let go of it in a way that we didn't know it was sitting here for us before. Um, and my word is vision.
All right.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We are back every Friday, but truly leave us a comment if you are thinking about what you want your year to look like or what your year has looked like for you. Um, just a word. And then you can come back to it in a year, just like Sherry Ann did with her dynamic year. Um, and we'll get some time to reflect.
Yeah. And remember, you are more powerful than you realize. We'll see you next week.